26 candles lit up the altar at Rosalima Catholic Church in Newtown last night. The church was filled to capacity. Hundreds stood outside praying and singing. Trying to make sense of the inexplicable can be one of the most difficult parts of a tragedy like the one in Connecticut. A lot of people turn to their faith to get them through the darkest days. Pastor Ed Young of Fellowship Church joins us now to help shed some light on what people might be going through in terms of having their faith challenged and perhaps even raising questions about would God allow such an evil, dastardly deed to be acted as we've seen yesterday. Pastor Young, what do you say about that?
Well, it hurts the heart of God because God hates to see this, and obviously it hurts our hearts, and I cannot even think about what people are going through, the families and the loved ones of those little children and adults who were taken. And the question is why, and that's a tough question. Why did God allow this to happen? We have to realize, though, we have a freedom of choice. So often our decisions have grave consequences, and when someone makes a decision like the killer did that is so heinous and so evil, it affects innocent people. So we live in a place that's not perfect, and bad things happen to good people, and God's very straightforward about that in His Scriptures.
Well, Pastor, I'm glad you mentioned the Scriptures, because the President, the Commander-in-Chief, acted as Consoler-in-Chief yesterday, as he did again today. But yesterday he quoted from the White House, Scripture, Psalm 147:3 to be exact. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. How did that affect you to hear that from the President?
I think it was awesome for him to quote Scripture, and that's what we need to do. We need to be in prayer. We need to be ready and able to help those in need. And we have to realize, too, that those little ones are in heaven with the Lord Himself. And we have to move after this grieving period from why to what. Not just why me, but in a while after we grieve, what now? And the Bible tells us that God will take even hellacious things like this and use those things for His purposes. And I don't always understand that. I don't think we will until we get to the other side, but that's what God tells us.
Many would say that is the mystery of God. The Romans 12:15 says, "Weep with those who weep and mourn with those who mourn."
Exactly.
So that's what we're being asked to do by the President and so many other people, saying mourn with the community and pray with the community.
That's true, and it's interesting too how when things are going well, so often we do not look to God or talk to God, yet after a tragedy, we're the first to blame God, and it's like, God, where were you? And God's always where He's been, but it breaks the heart of God to see this. Yet we're not made as robots. We have a choice. And to say our choices are just private is totally bogus, because the choices and decisions that we make affect not only ourselves, but others and innocent bystanders.
Pastor Ed Young, we thank you for joining us today and sharing those wonderful insights from the heart of God.
Thank you.